Right now, I work for Pillsbury United Communities, and I'm the director of an institution called the Urban Institute for Service and Learning. And so, where I am right now is, I think, a culmination of the work that I've been doing for a number of years. A lot of my work has really been around startup organizations, turnaround organizations, working boards transitioning to full-time staff, things of that nature. So I have a lot of experience in organizational development, launching programs, but then I also have a lot of experience with leadership development programs themselves. I've partaken in a fair amount of leadership development programs. I understand a lot about cohort models. And so that's just been kind of a natural transition to my work at the Urban Institute. I worked at Pillsbury a few years ago, left for a little bit, and went to graduate school, got a master's in public administration from Baruch College through the National Urban Fellows Program in New York, and then returned to Pillsbury to launch Public Allies Twin Cities. So Public Allies is a national network in about 21 different cities now, and the goal of Public Allies is to kind of change the face and practice of nonprofit leadership. And so we launched our site here 3 years ago, and every 10 months we bring in and train about 25 diverse young leaders. We place them in different nonprofit organizations and do some type of capacity building project at the same time that they get mentoring and coaching. We also do a lot of training around kind of values-based leadership, nonprofit mechanics, so that way when they leave the program, they're able to go into kind of a mid-managerial level position. So that is one of the key programs that I work on now. I have kind of a background in community organizing. I worked in the LGBT community for a long time. I have a fair amount of experience in public health. So in those different, I guess, kind of nodes, they've all really kind of come together into a bigger roll-up of kind of healthy and successful communities. A healthy and successful community has, good health outcomes. They have good access to education, access to quality jobs and economic opportunity, and at the same time feel a fair amount of connection with one another. Your neighbors, you help one another out. So I think that those are the big goals that I really strive to accomplish with my work.
So when you were growing up, you were thinking, when I grow up, what I want to do is get into organizational development in the nonprofit sector?
No, not quite like that. I think that it's a natural flow from what my beginning stages of life look like, but I don't know if I would said I want to do organizational development when I get older. My family was really big in, I don't know if I would say volunteering. They didn't really call it volunteering. We were, pushed into a lot of different activities. I was in the Boy Scouts for a long time when I grew up, so that has this natural kind of service community element to it. My family was big in our religious community. Volunteered a lot at church, breakfasts, things of that nature. My dad was really big in fundraisers. If there was individuals who either were suffering from cancer or had different family needs. A lot of pancake breakfast fundraisers was kind of big for us, and so there was always this expectation that you need to kind of help out other people, and it's not just about yourself. And so I think those early lessons really carried me through. And then as I got older, then my mental framework started becoming more geared towards social justice issues, and really kind of seeing the inequities that were out there in ways that I wasn't fully comfortable with how the world was structured. And so rather than, I think, just resting in my dissatisfaction, I think that there's a tendency to say, what can I do with that? And so I let that question kind of carry me on, for a while. And, when I went to the University of Minnesota for my undergraduate experience, the coursework that I did over there was really in line with kind of making the world a better place, I guess. I majored in international relations and global studies and have a focus on governance, peace, and justice. And so, just naturally coming across a lot of those professors and ideologies kind of kept me on that path. And so I had a lot of community organizer friends, friends that were trying to, protest a lot. And that's really important. And I think that, kind of mass protests and things like that, are critical, but I think that those are really just one piece. And you have to see them as a part of a larger strategy. And so being able to educate myself around how do organizations function, what are their positions in different communities, how do they influence legislation, politicians, what does it look like for media affairs? I wanted to be able to understand all these different pieces because that's where I think change happens. It's not just the protest, because there's a lot of front-end work that goes into that, and then a lot of follow-up work on the back end. And so I really wanted to be able to understand more comprehensively how change happens.